Booyah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. If you joined me here on the channel with my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, on Friday for Friday Night Fringe this past week, which, if you haven't already, you really should be hitting that subscribe button and your bell for notifications to join us for every week on our Friday night live streams. We showed some funny clips in that stream. We always use that time to sit down and chat with the community, not just about things that have happened in the past week with politics, but we have some laughs. We talk about some quirky, fun things. Sometimes we show memes. Sometimes we share different materials that are kind of fun to give everybody a lighthearted jab at what's happening in our society. Now, I won't be playing the clip today, but it ties into what's happening with Bill C-63 and internet censorship. Now, we all know that Justin Trudeau is trying to limit everyone's speech when it comes to the internet, that he says it's to protect families and children from online harms, when really it's about Justin Trudeau not really enjoying anybody making fun of him. They don't like when people talk against their rhetoric. I do have a video coming up to prove that later on in this video, but I wanted to talk specifically about the live stream because in that video, I showed a clip of an altered version of the interview from when Justin Trudeau embarrassingly sat on Stephen Colbert this past week, to which it was a dubbed video of Trudeau saying that Fidel Castro was his father, that his mother was with Mick Jagger, that, you know, that he likes blackface, like that Canada hates him. It was a really funny video. Now, again, I won't be showing that clip in here. You can always go back and watch it from Friday night's live stream. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because censorship is alive and well. YouTube actually demonetized the stream and said that this was a clip from Stephen Colbert's actual show. Now, what's funny about that is that parody is part of fair use. There is no ruling against using dubbed audio to make fun of a political figure. Now, evidently, I figured at this time, hey, maybe this is a problem. Maybe their algorithm automatically detected that, you know, because there were images of Colbert, because the voice sounds like Colbert, because Justin Trudeau's there and the voice sounds like Justin Trudeau's voice, that perhaps they just mistakenly thought that this was part of the interview with Stephen Colbert, and I was in fact ripping off the show, as the strike against the channel titled Stephen Colbert's episode. So of course, like any normal YouTuber, I did my due diligence. I filed a request to have that removed. I stated my case that, hey, this is a dubbed parody of the interview. There is no copyright infringing material that we took from this. It was all in good fun. It was part of parody, which is covered by fair use. And where I say censorship is alive and well is that even after proving that, YouTube still shot down the video, still demonetized it, and said, nope, we're not going to allow that to fly. You're still taking copyright material from Stephen Colbert and dispersing it on the internet. Now, what's funny about that is that censorship has already began. Now, I really don't care if they demonetize a live stream. That's part of the nature of the business. And I put that video out because I thought it was bloody hilarious, and I still think it's hilarious. But what's funny about C-63 as we get closer to the amendments that are being made on C-63 is that Justin Trudeau is always saying, well, we're not trying to censor online creators. We've already seen them censoring outfits like True North, like Rebel News, from being found in common Google search results. We've seen recently that Rebel News was denied their credits for filing as a journalist outfit. They've been told that they will not be getting any government subsidies for journalistic business practices. They weren't being recognized as a journalistic institution. And now we're starting to see that people's free speech is being taken away, and it's going to be taken away. In fact, if you say certain things now that the government doesn't like, well, you can be jailed. You're going to be jailed for having an opinion or expressing your opinions. Now, we've seen already, and the reason I brought up the YouTube stream is because Justin Trudeau has obviously, we've already seen millions of dollars being funneled out to companies like Google who own YouTube to be told, hey, if you're talking negatively about Captain Tampon, we're not going to boost those videos. We're not going to put them in our algorithm. And now we're getting to the point where even if you haven't done anything wrong, if you haven't tripped over any lines, which again, I've checked thoroughly with other creators, I've checked with other people who work on the platform, and they've all said the same thing. This is fair use. That Google now is starting to say, nah, we're just not going to allow it because we just don't want to. No reasoning behind it. They're just going to demonetize. They're going to shut it down. And now the NDP, who are in bed with the Liberals, tabling a bill about a National Day of Reconciliation, which is coming up, saying that if you don't agree with their statements, their rhetoric, you can be charged with hate speech. You can go to jail. In fact, making this video could essentially have me landed with hate speech. So it's far beyond having a video demonetized. We've got here Harrison Faulkner tweeting out, radical leftist NDP MP just tabled a bill that would criminalize so-called residential school denialism. If passed, it would be illegal in Canada to say that the residential school system was not a genocide, which it was not. This is totally insane. Now, again, this is Harrison Faulkner's opinion. Now, I will say that when you look at what happened in residential schools, from children being taken from their families, being forced to speak English languages, the treatment that they got, of course, I don't agree with a lot of that. I'm grateful for what's happened with residential schools, but essentially what we're talking about here when it comes to the Day of Reconciliation is, in fact, it's often used to highlight the supposed, alleged, and I'm going to say alleged, YouTube, because we haven't found any proof yet, unmarked graves of hundreds of Indigenous children. Now, the reason I bring that up, we've covered it to great extent here on the channel. If somebody or some outfit wants to provide me with some kind of physical proof that they have found the remains of abused children, I will happily report on that. I will happily agree that that portion of what is discussed is a travesty. But essentially what you're seeing here, and I'm referring to the residential school in Kamloops, where, again, they've done thermal scans of the area. They've found tree roots so far. There hasn't been, to my knowledge, again, YouTube, to my knowledge, a single body found as of yet to share the evidence of what the government is virtue signaling. But essentially this bill saying that if you don't agree with that, you can be charged with hate speech. You can, if you're going to deny it, that's a hate crime. This all ties into C-63 coming to fruition and essentially being told here that even if you share a different view or opinion than the government, you're a criminal. Let's take a listen to the absurdity of what's being proposed in the House of Commons.
Ms. Gazan, seconded by Ms. Zidlout, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Criminal Code, Promotion of Hatred Against Indigenous Peoples. This motion is deemed adopted. The Honourable Member from Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to table an act to amend the Criminal Code, Promotion of Hatred against Indigenous peoples. If passed, this bill would add to the Criminal Code the offence of willfully promoting hatred against Indigenous peoples by condoning, denying, justifying, or downplaying the harm caused by the residential school system in Canada, calling irrefutable historical facts into question. A genocidal project that was recognized as such unanimously in the House.
So I just want to pause on that because, again, it's saying that if you have a different opinion, if you feel that their statement of events is in any way misconstrued, or that, again, like me, you just want some form of proof of what they're saying, it's a hate speech. Now, she's saying that the House unanimously stood behind that, that the House identified that what happened was a travesty. And again, there were certain things that went on in residential schools that, again, I don't support, that I condemn. However, when talking about certain aspects of residential schools, I think that if you're going to state those claims, if you're going to make those claims, you should have proof behind it. And this has nothing to do with Indigenous people. The reason this is a slippery slope is because you have an Indigenous MP who's coming out and saying, you're going to agree with what we say, or else it's a hate crime. Where does it end outside of Indigenous? Where does it end for, if you don't agree with Justin Trudeau, it's a hate crime? You think back to the pandemic when they talked about science, when they talked about we have experts who are towing the line for us, that are saying that everything is irrefutable. And all these years later, we find that certain things, in fact, were not irrefutable at all. They were just merely people lining their pockets being told, again, to toe a line and convey a message. So if this is adopted, out of virtue signaling, out of saying, well, you know, we want to look after the Indigenous. We want to make sure we don't offend anybody. We don't want to be racist. Where does this kind of ability to push for these kinds of criminal attributes, we'll say, end in terms of Canadian citizens being allowed to have an opinion, to voice their opinions, to, again, require a discussion and proof of what's being stated before they approve of or deny what took place somewhere?
Survivors and their families deserve to heal from this intergenerational tragedy and be free from violent hate, and we cannot allow their safety and well-being to be put further at risk. All parliamentarians must stand firm against all forms of damaging hate speech, including the denial of the tragedy of the residential schools in Canada. And at a time of increasing residential school denialism, including from some parliamentarians, survivors, their families, and communities need protection and a platform to share our history. In honor of Orange Shirt Day, I extend this gift to you on behalf of me and all of my colleagues. May you find justice and healing in the protection of your stories. Thank you very much.
So, again, I don't want to downplay anybody's personal experiences or say that anybody is wrong for the things that have happened in their families. For those who do suffer any kind of injustice, of course, you want them to feel as though justice has been served. However, the government coming out and saying that anyone who has a difference in opinion is a criminal is a very slippery slope. Again, this has nothing to do with Indigenous. This has to do with where this can be extended into day-to-day life. And of course, with the government, we've always seen that if you give an inch, they take a mile. When we talk about the Online Harms Act, when we talk about censoring videos, when we talk about shutting down content creators, when we talk about shutting down independent media that isn't funded by the government and shield paid prostitutes, what does this mean for how you absorb your information? What does this mean for how you get your news? What does this mean for stating your opinion in a country that's supposed to have the protection of freedom of speech? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with the criminality that's going on? Do you agree with Bill C-63? Do you think that, again, things are going to get better? Now, it is worth noting before we quit the video that Michelle Rempel-Garnier of the Conservatives has said that she's going to propose an amendment to Bill C-63 and that she does agree with certain aspects of it in terms of protecting children, that, again, without the requirement of a digital ID, that people can essentially protect their kids online if that, in fact, is the worry. But what we're talking about here, the barbaric nature of how Bill C-63 has been constructed is essentially to silence people on the internet when the government doesn't like what you're saying. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure to leave a thumbs up or a comment down below if you enjoyed this video. Again, when we talk about these things on the channel, they always get pushed down. YouTube, again, once it doesn't like pushing it out because that's their job, but it does help us get a little bit above that algorithm. So if you enjoyed the content, leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. If you're hitting that subscribe button, also make sure to click on your bell for notifications and join me once again live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show where we're going to go over everything that happened in the previous week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth with our community, especially ones that get us banned and shut down on YouTube. Those are always the fun ones. It all goes down here on the channel every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there this upcoming Friday. I hope you guys enjoy this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.